What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on a Saturday morning/afternoon. I am Britt Devine, joined by STL Cards, Justin Van Zuden. We've got a different producer today, Rob, tearing it up in the main event, just stacking chips. Devin's not available today, so we're borrowing someone from Action Network. So I don't think there's going to be any difficulties, but if there are, please don't hold us against us. Justin, what's going on today? Your Cardinals. Tough season for you. They sent Adam Wainwright, RIP, all the easy bets we can make against him out to the pasture with an injury. Just pretty much a lost season for you.
Yeah, they stink. And it's at this point, like I was talking to some people about this the other day. I said, at this point, the worst case scenario for the Cardinals would be for them to make like a second half rally and like get to 500 or something like that and miss the playoffs. And then everyone has a justification for the status quo, which at this point, they haven't made an impactful like trade deadline deal in forever. They haven't made a big time free agent acquisition that has panned out in a while. Like the Goldie and Arenado deals were both off-season trades. So it just, the front office is a mess. And until there's changes there, I mean, I don't like the manager either, but you give the manager that pitching staff, it doesn't matter who you've got managing the team with the guys that the Cardinals are rolling out there. I mean, they've got 20 blown saves now. It's the highest in the league. It's a disaster. So at this point, I just hope they tank, lose 100 games, whatever, will help spark some change maybe in the front office because, 81-81 isn't going to do anybody any good. So I've officially entered don't care how the Cardinals do, and let's just hope we can win some money the rest of the season and then get ready for football.
Clear the deck in St. Louis. I want to know, we see some weather. I want to jump to the weather if you want to start the screen share. So Roth, they just delayed the Detroit game, which I'm happy they did because Roth just posted on this. Here's the radar. It's raining there basically right now. There's a little batch popping up. You can sort of see it here. Roth says this is going to clear quick. I think he has it as yellow-orange. With the delay, I'm honestly happy with that, Justin. I want to play Kevin Gausman. I need this game to go. I'm happy with them starting in a delay. It probably means they're going to wait for this little second batch to go. Ross says it's clear till after game time with that. Maybe real late in the game with the delay coming, there's a little bit of problems. But Gausman should be out of the game by then after a good performance. Happy to see the delay, honestly.
Yeah, my bold call in our survey today was that Gausman's going to throw a no-hitter, so I hope he gets the chance to go for that. I think it's going to be fine. It does seem like that's moving pretty quick. It's not like it's hanging over the stadium there. So, yeah, they should wait for that to clear. It's lunchtime. I mean, you still got time to get that through and get the game in today and not have to play a doubleheader tomorrow. So, based on what we see right now, I think we're all right, and we'll just keep an eye on it. But, yeah, that's definitely something that you can't just ignore. We gotta keep monitoring it. So we'll check it again before the game.
All right, we got a couple different slates today. DraftKings locks at 1, FanDuel locks at 4. We're going to talk both now, and then if you're playing the late slate tonight, I'll be back on that. I don't know if Justin will be there, but other people will be there as well to do the late slate for 4 games. But let's talk pitching today. We just talked Kevin Gausman. He's my number one. I read your article. He's your number one. He's just clearly better than Garrett Cole. He's got the better matchup. Everything's going for him today. He's the guy I'm starting my lineups with.
Yeah, Cole has been fine, but not like Garrett Cole like this season. Just a little bit more inconsistent, not as many strikeouts. Both guys have a super long leash in terms of pitch count. I mean, we've got both guys projected right around 100 pitches. And, you just look at the matchup and that Detroit team, they're up near the top in strikeouts. They're near the bottom in team weighted on base against right-handed pitching. Cubs have been a little bit peskier lately, and they beat the Yankees last night. So, I mean, it's not like it's a free win for Garrett Cole, even though the Yankees are, a pretty decent favorite. So, yeah, I'm going with Gausman as well, assuming the weather holds off. Certainly, if that looks more dicey, you can always pivot down. But even then, I think I'd pivot past Garrett Cole. I think, in terms of number 2 spend for me, I'd still take Paxton over Cole as well. And if you're playing the FanDuel slates, both Gausman and Cole are on the early slate. And then Paxton is kind of your top guy on the main 4:00 slate over there. It's a little bit tougher call on DraftKings where you've got them all available. But yeah, Gausman and then Paxton would be my 1 and 2. I mean, Paxton was the pitcher of the month last month. Basically has come back from injury, showing, no ill effects at all, facing Oakland at home. Don't get too many better matchups than that on the table as well. So yeah, Gausman 1, Paxton 2, both of them ahead of Cole for me today.
You need to save money. Where are we going? Right? Even if you play one of those guys, you can't get all, well, you can't stack Texas pretty much if you're playing on DraftKings on the early slate, if you're playing those guys. Let's talk about Gavin Williams, probably one of the cheaper options we're going to be using today. A good matchup against Kansas City, lots of strikeouts in the minors, a little up and down in the majors so far, but at 7K, looking like a guy I might want to use. Heaney's at 8,200. Is that $1,200 worth it to you, or do you prefer Gavin Williams as cheap as you can go?
Yeah, I like Williams today. I think, you look at his outings, he had a rough one, but that was against Atlanta his last time out. The bad start in his major league debut, I mean, that was against Oakland, but we can kind of excuse that, nerves and whatnot. His one good start came against the Royals, and that's who he's facing today. So you got a guy that's 7K, and it's not like he's coming out of nowhere, right? This is one of the top prospects in the league, really good minor league numbers, already has a good start against this team. He's at home. The Royals can't hit. And he's 7K on DraftKings. I mean, there's only like 4 or 5 pitchers that are cheaper than him on the board today. I think he's your SP2. And I'm okay with Heaney as well. I mean, I'm okay with Tyler Wells. I'm okay with Sonny Gray, but you get like those guys like Wells and Gray on DraftKings at 9,400 and 9K. Like that's not enough of a discount for me to where you're still going to be able to get the bats you want. Like you might as well go up and get one of the top guys at that point. So for it to become meaningful, I think you have to get down towards that Gavin Williams, maybe Heaney if you think the walks are going to get better, but not necessarily the best matchup for him against Washington, a team that doesn't strike out a lot. So Williams is probably my preferred SP2 choice on DraftKings. I think the bats come together pretty well when you use him in there.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else you want to dart throw in tournaments today? Mine would probably be Braxton Garrett. Lots of strikeout upside, doesn't really kill you too much with walks. I know the bat doesn't like him today, but he's shown some pretty elite ability. Same with Mitch Keller. These guys' ownership very low. Their price is lower than the elite tier today due to that matchup. If you had to pick between one of those two for maybe a contrarian play, who you got?
Yeah, I don't mind either, especially if you're building a lot of lineups today. It would be Garrett if I had to pick between the two. Phillies don't have the best numbers against left-handed pitching, a sneaky high kind of strikeout team there, and Garrett has shown really good command. His walk rate's like somewhere in the vicinity of 4 or 5%. And he's just been really consistent. Maybe doesn't have the longest leash in terms of pitches, but Keller's got a tougher matchup on the road in Arizona. So if you're building 50, 60, 70 lineups, I think you keep those guys in your player pool today, but Garrett would be preferred if you're just trying to pick between the two for me.
All right. I think that's going to do it for starting pitching. Anyone else you want to talk about at all, Cards?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you can maybe make a case for Ranger Suarez, but not too much else here.
All right, TJ's not here, so we don't have the Spidey bombs, but I've got a lot of bets today. I've been up since the kid woke me up at about 4:30 Cards. I've been a busy man on the sports books today, so I've got a lot to do. Every 25 likes, I'll throw another bet out there. I've got home runs, I've got hits. I've got money lines. I've got run lines. Some of them are on scores and odds. Some of them are not. So for every 25 likes, I'll throw a bet out there, and maybe we'll get one or two from Cards as we go along the way. I want to thank our sponsor, Fanduel, for sponsoring the show. If you are a new user in a sportsbook state, you can bet $20 and get $200 in bonus bets. Make sure to check that out for our sponsor, Fanduel. Some of the bets I do have available. I believe their best lines, specifically the home runs, are going to be on FanDuel, so you're going to want to make sure you have that open in just a little bit. Cards, let's talk offense in general today. We've got Boston against Oakland. We've got the Yankees pretty cheap. It seems pretty straightforward, at least from the cash game perspective, on where I'm drawing some of my players from. Of course, I want to play Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and Garcia and the Rangers. They're just very expensive, specifically if you're playing Gausman. Sort of hard to get to those guys. Is that where you're looking at for offense today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why if you're playing one of the aces, on the whole, you're probably going to maybe want a little bit more exposure to Boston than Texas, because Boston is basically projected for the same amount of runs. But the key with that Boston lineup is they are largely cheap. And their lineup just came out right before we went on the air. Adam Duvall is not in there today. He would have been popular on FanDuel because he's 3K, but he's not in there today. But that makes their whole lineup, particularly on DraftKings, a little bit cheaper on the whole. So it's Duran, Yoshida, Turner, Devers, Verdugo, Casas, Arroyo, Wong, and Hernandez. So they're shifting just basically everybody you would expect to be in there, except Duvall's not in there today. So I like Boston when it comes to fitting them in alongside the salaries. Texas is right there as well if you can fit them in. And the one thing, I mean, I've been super critical, obviously, this year of the Cardinals, but the main thing that has been driving them down has been the pitching. The offense has picked it up this week. I mean, they've had some games. They had a game where they scored 9 and lost. Last night they scored 7 and lost. But the offense hasn't been the problem lately. And you look at like individual player WOBA over the last, I forget what the splits was, whether it was 6 weeks or 8 weeks, but Brendan Donovan actually leads the league over that time frame, and he's still really cheap. You got Goldschmidt, Arenado, obviously Jordan Walker's been hitting it well. So I think overall, the Cardinals are certainly an offense, and the White Sox on the other side of that game, it's two bad pitching teams with horrible bullpens. I think those two teams are in play kind of as your next tier below Texas and Boston today.
All right, I want to jump back in. Roth has a new weather tweet. It looks like, so maybe 20 minutes ago he tweeted, and this big storm was all over the park. It's now past it, and there's a couple of pop-ups basically sprouting up behind it here. This is what the delay is for. The radar doesn't look too good in my opinion. It says it's safe for pitchers, or not safe, but I bet it works out. Cards, looking at this, I've looked at a lot of weather over the years. I'm pretty good using Kevin Gausman today. I'm not really concerned about this, especially with the delay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm blowing this up on my end just to see. Okay, that's where the park is. Oh yeah, that heavy stuff is already past the.
This is fast. This is moving real fast.
Yeah, and it's moving real fast. So, yeah, I'm okay with it. Basically, just hope for GPP purposes that lowers his ownership. To be honest.
All right, I believe we got 25 likes. We're at 27. I'll get to 50. I'll give you another bet. I'll start with the ones I have on scores and odds. You guys will get the premium for free for tuning in. Let's go with the first one, the Rangers money line. Now I had it at minus 175. I think it's moved a little bit more. You could play the run line on the Rangers if you want to. I don't understand. These should be like minus 200 plus, in my opinion, with the pitching, the hitting advantage. I believe it's something. What did I write up today? Actually, here, let me go to scores and odds, and I'll give you a pick behind the scenes here. We'll just bring it up on air, Cards. How does that sound?
Go for it.
We'll go to me. We'll go find the Rangers money line. The Rangers have scored 158 more runs this year than they've allowed. The Nationals have allowed 93 more runs than they have scored. It's basically one of the largest run differentials you're going to get from any team. Rangers are number 1 in the league. I think the Nationals are 4th worst. Just completely different teams in terms of skill set. Heaney versus Irvin today. The bats are just so much better. Rangers money line is up to minus 185 is the best line, minus 200 on FanDuel. Get that in there. You can take the run line if you don't want to lay minus 200 or whatever. I think that's also fine. So that's my favorite bet of the day for sure, is going to be the Rangers money line or the run line. All right, position by position. Let's go catcher. I was looking at Contreras. He's not in the lineup today. I've shifted to DraftKings. Do we have a Rangers lineup yet? I don't believe so. I've switched to Jonah Heim simply because if he doesn't play, I can go down to Garver, and I love the Rangers so much today. He's giving me a piece of that, so I like him. I'm not going to fault you for going with a cheap catcher to start on DraftKings. We've got a couple of options, I believe around 2,800. Something like that, between Langoliers and Wong. I don't know. I just want some power from the catching position. I want a Ranger. Heim gives it to me, and if he's not in, I could switch to Garver pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I don't know what's up with Contreras. They said so because he obviously got traded in the offseason. His dentist is still in Chicago. So he had some like major dental work done yesterday, but that it wouldn't affect his availability for the rest of the series.
Get a new dentist.
Like, yeah, what the heck? You gotta or do it, or after this
All-Star
series,
break's coming up.
Yeah, next week's the All-Star break. I mean, I don't know if he was banking on being an All-Star before the year started or what. But anyway, that's the story with Contreras, which is strange. But anyway, he's not in there today. That does give you another option from the punt level. So Ivan Herrera is actually one of the better prospects for the Cardinals, and he's hitting about 315 in the minors this year. So not your normal like backup catcher type. He can swing the bat. So if you're looking for a pivot, I mean, that Boston lineup is out and Wong is in there. So I think Wong will certainly be the chalkier value, the punt piece at 2,500. Herrera at 2,400. I mean, those are the two guys I'd be looking at if I'm punting. But otherwise, I totally agree on Jonah Heim. I think he's probably the play at the top. William Contreras, assuming he's in there for the Brewers today, would be probably in my top 5 as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to first base. A couple ways you can play this. You can spend, you can go in the mid-tier. How are you handling it today? The way I found my lineups, I'd like Goldschmidt. I think his matchup's very good today. I just can't get to that. My bats pretty much, I'm talking the main early slate on DraftKings, at least on FanDuel. I think you can probably get to Goldschmidt if you wanted to. I'm just finding myself in the mid-tier basically across most of my positions. So I like a Nate Lowe. I like a Justin Turner. Basically any exposure I can get to Boston against Oakland, any exposure I can get with Texas against Washington, I'm going to try to get that today.
Yeah, I agree. Goldschmidt's fine if you can get there. Certainly fine in your Cardinals stacks. But this could be a spot where that salary savings. I mean, Nate Lowe is a little bit cheaper, so if you can fit him in there, that's fine. Or I don't even mind going down a little bit further. Again, if you're spending up at pitcher, Casas is some cheaper exposure to Boston, and Brandon Belt actually has the best data against right-handed pitching for Toronto this year in terms of ISO and weighted on base. As a whole, they've kind of struggled a bit against righties, but he's pretty cheap. On DraftKings at 3K. He would be on the early slate only on FanDuel, but I don't mind going cheap at first today. I think Goldie certainly is the play if you're in that top tier of like Goldie, Walker, Votto, Guerrero. Goldie would be the one I would take there, but don't mind going cheap at first today.
All right, second base. What are you looking at on DraftKings today?
If you can get there, Semien is fine. But I would, if you're trying to prioritize the one top end Texas bat, I think it's clearly Seager, and they're both over 6K. So to me, Donovan is the play at second base because there's no reason with the way that he's been playing that he should be 3,200 on DraftKings. He's leading off. He's just been absolutely nuking the baseball over the last 3 weeks. And he's been DHing because he's got an elbow issue or something right now that he hasn't been clear to throw. So, but the bat is just fine. And I mean, if you sort by ownership, like Donovan and Gorman are both near the top, I definitely take Donovan with the discount. Zach Remillard is leading off for the White Sox today as well, and he's only 2,900 on DK. So, two really nice value pieces. Torres probably only on FanDuel for me on the early slate. Then, of course, Semien if you can get there. But Donovan, I think, would be like one of your first picks on DK today.
Yeah, I like him if you're spending up. Do you like the Yankees today? I know the bat's really high on him. What's your take on the Yankees against Smiley?
Yeah, I don't mind the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees have been underwhelming offensively for sure this year. But you look at, they've still got some guys that are good against left-handed pitching. Smiley is a hit or miss guy. Donaldson's got the career splits. Volpe's been good against lefties. Bader's been good against lefties. We know Stanton's can hit lefties. So tough to pick out like a lot of individual bats that you got to say, hey, we got to have this guy. But I do kind of like them as a stack today.
All right, get me up to 50 likes. I'll give you not a Spidey bomb. I got a Brit bomb. It's plus 520 on FanDuel right now. And you're going to want to maybe take his over 1.5 hits as well on FanDuel. It's pretty positive EV right now, if you ask me. So we'll get to that. Just a couple more likes. I'll give you a nice home run bet on our sponsor, FanDuel. Going to third base on DraftKings, we've got a cheap option in Josh Donaldson. Home run or bust? Do you prefer that, or do you want someone a little more consistent at your third base spot?
I mean, I certainly think Donaldson's all right because you get him at a discount. But to me, I mean, if I'm saving at first, if I'm saving at second, yeah, Devers is the guy I want. I mean, his career splits against righties. Blackburn isn't a gas can. He's one of the better guys Oakland has, but he has only gone 6 innings once since he's come back. So that means you're getting at least, half of a game against that bullpen. Remyard, who I just mentioned at second, you can play at third as well. Matt Chapman, Josh Young. I mean, if you're home run hunting, you got those guys in the single digits ownership wise today as well.
All right, let's go to shortstop. We got about 15 minutes left. You guys want to start putting your questions into either YouTube or into the live show portion. Where is that? It's up in the live stream chat and the RotoGrinders Discord. We'll get to those as we close out the outfielders. Shortstop, again, cards a couple different ways. You know, who wouldn't want to play Corey Seager today, right? I did bet him on a home run. He's not the guy I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but on Fanduel, you got your best odds over there. This was earlier in the day. I like him to have a really nice day. He's just expensive. You can play Volpe for the Yankees. He's leading off today. Reasonably cheap, fits sort of the salary restrictions you need if you're playing a guy like Gausman. How are you handling that?
Yeah, I mean, Seager's the one top end bat that I want to try to get in there. You know, if you're trying to,
it's tough.
I know a 6,400 is tough to get. I mean, you got to sacrifice at another position for sure, and that's kind of the rationale behind going cheap at first, maybe going cheap at second, because like the punt guy that was going to carry some ownership based on our original projections was Yu Chang, but he's not in the lineup for Boston today, so he's out. There's just not a whole lot to love in that kind of 3K-ish range if you want to totally punt. I mean, Paul DeYoung is probably the one Cardinal guy that I really don't want to roster. He's kind of home run or bust as well, and he had 3Ks last night. But I don't love a whole lot else at this position. It's so weak. That to me, you know, McLean, fine, but like McLean, you're like, well, he's only 900 cheaper than Seager. So, yeah, to me, it's basically just Seager and Volpe, and then, you know, whatever else, if it fits in your stack. Like, I don't have anything against Willy Adames or Ahmed Rosario, but it's just kind of meh for me.
All right, a couple more likes. I'll give you that home run bet. He is in the outfield, so we'll see if that can get anybody going as we're talking about some of these guys today. The mid-tier, is Garcia someone you want, or are you finding yourself more on like these mid-tier players like a Stanton? Yelich is reasonably expensive. Duran leading off is 3,500. Take your pick of what do you got? Nootbaar out in the outfield on DraftKings if you want to throw him here. Are you prioritizing trying to get a tech, Garcia, or do you prefer maybe the mid-tier or even the cheaper plays?
Yeah, I mean, since I'm trying to get Seager, like Seager and Garcia together isn't generally working. So certainly if you're stacking Texas, if you're going cheap at pitcher, then you can do that. But I mean, that's certainly not the route you want to be going in cash. So I am kind of living in this 3K range for outfielders. So I think for me, Duran and then one of the Cardinals guys would probably be where I would start. So Duran, obviously, if you look at his exit velocity, things like that, he's been really hitting the baseball hard. And then I slightly prefer Walker to Nootbaar for the Cardinals. Both of them are fine. Walker's just been swinging the bat a little bit better. Then you got somebody like Bader, good splits against lefties for the Yankees this afternoon. Stanton, who you mentioned. I mean, those guys are both around. So you can get, if you go Duran, and then Nootbaar or Walker and Bader, like all those guys are in the 3Ks. They're a little bit easier to fit, and then maybe that's your path to still get Corey Seager or something like that.
All right. Still need a couple more likes. I'll give you. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you. Give me a couple more likes. I'll give you some more bets as we get towards the end of the show here. So my plus 520 home run is Christian Yelich. He's someone I really like today. I have no problem trying to reach for him in DFS. I think he's 5K on DraftKings. I have no problem him being someone that you're spending on if you didn't want the boom bust nature of a Stanton at 4,500 on DraftKings. I think getting to Yelich for 500 more gives you some more consistency with some nice home run upside against Weaver, who's just bad. The bullpen's bad. And Yelich, I think, can maybe take it out. And his over 1.5 hits is, I think it was plus 200 or something like that a little earlier in the day. You can find that on FanDuel as well. He racks up hits left and right. And again, Cincinnati today looks like a pretty good spot. So what do you think of Yelich overall, Justin? Can you get on board with those home run and hits calls?
Yeah, I don't mind that call today. I do kind of like the Brewers. Certainly Luke Weaver's a hittable pitcher, so don't mind that at all. I think if I had to throw one out there, and I look at kind of our tools on scores and odds, and we've got Braxton Garrett Again, we kind of mentioned him as a viable pitching option in GPPs for DFS. Our scores and odds numbers have him projected at 7.1 strikeouts today. His over-under on a lot of sites is still hanging at 5.5. So if you can get that Braxton Garrett strikeout over 5.5, our scores and odds tool has that as basically 22% expected value on that bet. So Braxton Garrett over 5.5 Ks, I do like today as well.
All right, I'll give a couple more bets after we get lock at 105. The next game is until 110, so you'll have a couple minutes to get those in. I want to go to some questions. I'm going to go to our Discord first here. People, this was probably earlier in the show. I want to recap the weather. I want to see if Roth has posted anything else. I don't believe so. So the rain in Detroit, the game's in a delay. Oh, hold on. I see a couple more lineups coming out. Still no Texas lineup. I was hoping we would get that before the show. So it's in a delay. The rain's moving fast there. The wind's moving it pretty quickly. I don't think me or Justin are really too concerned about Kevin Gausman today. I'm giving him the thumbs up. I'm playing him on cash without question right now on DraftKings. What about you, Justin?
Yep, I'm still okay with him too. I just really like that matchup. And like if you are risk averse and you don't want to play him, then obviously there are pivots today, but it looks fine.
All right, couple more questions. Reds or Brewers stacks? This is from Crazy Coop in our Discord. The Brewers for sure. I like the Brewers quite a bit today. What do you think about the Reds?
Yeah, just on the surface, I like the Reds a little bit more. And I did see somebody in the YouTube chat asked about De La Cruz a few minutes ago, but like the problem that people are having with the Reds now, like everybody loves the Reds and they're this trendy pick. And I still think that this Reds wagon is going to cool a bit. I mean, just based on their pitching, like that wins games in playoffs. And unless they add at the deadline, I think kind of Reds mania is going a little far here. But just in terms of today as a stack, I do like them. And now that they're priced up, like all of a sudden you're not getting a whole lot of ownership. Colin Ray is certainly a hittable pitcher. We know if these guys get on base, they're going to run. So, yeah, I like the Reds as a stack as well.
All right. Beaner wants to know, we'll get to the YouTube questions in just a second. Donovan or Gorman from a FanDuel tournament today?
That's Donovan for me, without a doubt. I mean, even though on FanDuel their prices are pretty similar, like Gorman looks a bit lost at the moment. He's striking out a ton, and Donovan has just been absolutely locked in every day. It's a no-brainer on DK where there's a $1,500 salary gap, but even on FanDuel, I mean, I think Donovan's the guy you want. All
right. We've got SHB Ball, DraftKings Cash, Tristan Casas or Brandon Belt. The bat has them 0.03 fantasy point differential today, Cards. You got to choose between these two as a cheap first baseman. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, in GPPs, it depends on the context of your lineup. Obviously, if you're stacking one of those teams, I like both. If I just had to pick one as a one-off or a cash game play, I think I like Belt a little better.
All right. Grenade from Discord wants to know Seager or De La Cruz. Seager is without question. If you're paying for any single bat today, it is Corey Seager without question today, Justin.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, his numbers he's got like a 460 weighted on base and a over 1100 OPS against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, you can go I bet Seager for the home run. You can go get that too. All right, to YouTube, let's go. I guess I'll go reverse order and we'll find out what we can get here. Nimfufu wants to know White Sox bats. Are we interested in them today? I think not really from a cash perspective, but from tournaments, I have no problem being selective with a couple White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, Michaelis is a guy that doesn't strike anybody out. And so, I mean, even though the White Sox haven't been good against righties in general, I mean, this is the type of pitcher that's not going to blow the ball by them. So I do think they match up well today. And if you look at his outings, he has really, really struggled in the first inning. So if they can get to him early, again, we know how bad the bullpen is. They've blown games left and right. Then, it could be an upside spot here for the White Sox today.
Okay, a couple more. Let's see. Andrew Martinez, Belt, Biggio, and Bichette. Triple B is a triple stack from the Blue Jays good enough for you today?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think the Blue Jays are a viable stack. It's a team that isn't going to have as much ownership as they would have, if you put this slate on like maybe a month ago. Um, Biggio is hitting fifth today. Like, he's very capable of striking out against anybody, but I don't mind that cheap Toronto stack.
All right, give me a couple more likes. I'll throw a couple more bets on you as soon as we're done here at 105. You should have a couple of minutes to get those in, either on FanDuel or somewhere else. See, it's popping up on the live stream. Cole or Gray on the FanDuel early slate. If you're choosing between those, I think we both want Gausman for sure over them. And then if you're choosing between Cole or Gray, who you
got? Boy, that's a tough question. I can't really get on board with Garrett Cole. He just hasn't been great. Gray isn't going to have as much ownership. Constantly kind of an underrated guy. Give me Gray.
Let's see here. I think Discord had a couple more questions. Oh, DraftKings best outfielder, 3,500 and under. So using lineup HQ, I've sorted it to 3,500 and less. And I think it's a couple guys. Jaron Duran, I'm definitely on Duran as your number one 35. He's 3,500. He's definitely the guy leading off against Oakland without question. Cards has mentioned Donovan. He's right behind. I'm using the bat as projection source. I agree completely. These are the top two guys without question for me. And I think you probably even like Jordan Walker a little bit too.
Yeah, those three guys would be the top ones there for sure. And I wouldn't even mind using that whole trio if it works for you.
All right, let's see here. Milkman wants to know DraftKings, which two? Gausman, Cole, Paxton. You're picking two. Who you got?
Well, yeah, Cole's the man out.
Yes, I would agree with that one. So it would be Gausman and Paxton. I think most lineups today are going to have one spend and one cheapie, either like a Heaney or who is it? Is it
Gavin
Williams from Cleveland today? Is I think going to be the general roster construction over on DK today. Cruz or Ramirez is a third base one-off today.
I don't really like Ramirez today. I mean, he's always fine, but Singer isn't as bad as a lot of people make him out to be. Like, he's not great, but yeah, give me Cruz.
Let's see here. San Francisco stack. We didn't really talk too much about them. I definitely these guys are reasonably cheap. I don't think do we have a lineup for San Francisco yet?
No, it's a 4:00 game, but so it's always tough to stack them because now, unfortunately, for our purposes, they're healthy again. So, there's always the shenanigans with the pinch hit risk and all that stuff. But especially if they've got, we've projected like 6 lefties in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can't pinch it for all of them. And B, because of that risk, they never carry a whole lot of ownership. Particularly when they're not playing in Coors Field. But the Rockies do have a couple of lefties in their bullpen, so there is some late game risk there, but I don't mind it in some GPP builds.
Yeah, just make sure you pay attention when the lineup does come out. It's likely to be after lock at this point in time. All right, going back to Eric Johnson wants to know, Chalk Gausman sucks. Can we stack the Tigers? Not something I'm interested in today. Gausman's been one of the most consistent pitchers all year, and this is Detroit. I think he's pretty close to,
Look, if the Tigers, I bet the Tigers last night, and I've learned my lesson. They couldn't. They lost by 10 runs against Manoah, so who had pitched in 2 rookie league games and allowed 12 runs, and for some reason was brought right back. I'm not really sure what the story is, but the Tigers are just horrible. Like, I get it that. If you just want to look at it from a data perspective, like, technically the fact that he's chalk doesn't affect, he's not going out there on the field saying, hey, I'm DFS chalk today. This has to be a day that I suck. Obviously it's, variance and stuff happens, but based on the projections and the data, I mean, it's tough to ignore him today.
All right. We're basically at lineup lock. I'm going to give a couple more bets out. Justin, before I rattle them off, you got anything else that popped into your head? Or anything you were hitting on the sports books?
Yeah, I got the over K's in there for Garrett. I don't mind Gausman's as well, but his is at 7.5, and I've held off of actually betting that.
I bet that. I bet that early, so I'm pretty sure it got juiced up as the day progressed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Obviously, if the game goes, I'm kind of scrolling through our home run projections now too. Nothing has stood out as crazy. I do like some of the, and I'm not on the night show tonight, so I do like some of the Angels guys tonight. Like, so our scores and odds has Hunter Renfroe at plus 233 for a home run tonight, and right now he's still at plus 350 on FanDuel. So I think those odds might get bet down a little bit throughout the day. So if you want to bet like a Renfroe homer, I would probably get to that early in the day as well. So that's one that I like but it's from the later games.
All right, I mentioned the Rangers run line or money line. I've bet the Rangers. I'm like all in on the Rangers today. I bet their team total. I bet alt spreads, alt lines. Right, I'm hoping they win by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. against Washington today. Another team I've done that with is Boston. The money line was like minus 230 earlier in the day. I could see what it's at right now, but I got the run line at minus 110. Right, you're getting 230 on the money line for them to win by one more run at minus 110. I'll gladly take that. I think that's still a pretty reasonable and available line. Let's see here. So on the run line, you can get minus one. It's moved up a little bit to minus 120. I would still take that over the money line on the Red Sox. That's another team I have no problem. I've taken Paxton strikeouts. I've taken alt spreads. I've taken the team total on Boston. This is another team, a big offense. I'm expecting them to have a good performance today. I gave you Yelich. I'm just thinking I'm on you with the Marlins pitcher for strikeouts. Trying to jog my memory. I think that's about most of the things I was on for the early slate, along with that Yelich home run. I think that's pretty good for my sports betting. So that should be about it from my end, from both fantasy and from sports betting. Just trying to see if there's any other questions. We got a couple of minutes before most of the games lock. That's the early slate. That's locked. King of Smack wanted to know Walker and Nuke Bar on the FanDuel early slate. Absolutely right. Yeah, we have no problem using those guys. I think that's about it from questions cards. That sounds about good to you to wrap it up.
Yep, good here.
All right. So thanks to everybody for watching, tuning in. Justin, sorry about your Cardinals this year, but maybe, hey, it's DFS. We get to play them today, and we get to hope for a good performance. I like the spot they're in today. Everyone go find what's Rob's Twitter? Do you know it off the top of your head, Justin?
I don't.
Let's see here. I know. Let me go find this real quick here. Anyone? Let me see if it's Rob something. King Coakley. Go find King Coakley at Twitter and wish him good luck. He's in the World Series of Poker main event. He's on day 3. He has a monster stack. Very jealous of the position he would be in there. This is the biggest main event ever. Pretty good to be going into day 3 with a big stack. Go wish King Coakley on Twitter. That's our usual weekend producer, Rob. Good luck in that. I've seen a couple of DFS players. I saw Killer Bees was out there. I saw, oh man, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. A couple other guys that have been or are currently RotoGrinders contributors out there doing well in the RotoGrinders main event. So wish all of them good luck. Other than that, I'll see you back here at 6:45 for the late show. Not with Justin, but with somebody else. Other than that, everyone have a good day. For Justin, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, and we out, you.